Hello. Hello. I am Coach Lashon of E3 Fit and Wellness. I am super excited to be here on tonight. It is our fourth Wednesday where we meet together right here, and I'm happy about it. It has been a warm and hot day, and as you can see, I'm still in my workout clothes. Been working out and working out hard. But on tonight, I really wanted to talk about something that's really dear to my heart, and that is a basis foundation of wellness, of any type of wellness. Okay. Which is called a framework of a habit. Framework of a habit. We're going to talk about habits on tonight, and we have many of them. And in my research and in my learning, habit, the habit loop is necessary for the brain to function. And so on tonight, we're going to just dive briefly on it. I have about 45, 50 minutes with you. So I hope I can go into some details as relates to our habit. I really take some of our one-on-one clients and our 30-day cohorts through some of this habitual training. That's what I call it. It's a habitual training, because a lot of us think willpower can get us through, but willpower is very temporary. What happens is we have to have discipline kick in so that we can create habits of health. I'm talking about well habits. Now, many of us have some bad habits, and I do too. Don't get it twisted. We are yet a work in progress, but the goal is progress. We want to progress, right? It's not about perfection, but it's about progression. So I'm excited to be here on tonight. I appreciate BSBA for allowing me the opportunity to pour into business owners who are mothers, fathers, grandparents, uh, business builders. You're still probably working, some of you in the corporate, but to pour into you, to give you some strategies and some structures for wellness, for living in your optimal lifestyle, because you can do that. We can do that. We make that decision. We make that choice. I want to read something to you that I read to my community. It says, it is not a matter of willpower or accomplishing accomplishing real and lasting change called habits. Most of the medical structures are problem driven, not outcome driven. They're against illness, but ironically, they don't think in terms of creating health and wellness. Therefore, they have to wait, and we've experienced this, wait for you to get sick or something hurts or something wrong before they begin their work. Optimal wellness begins with a process, behaviors that develops habits of health. And that's where we can come in and control that. We can really create processes and patterns as it relates to a healthy way of living through developing habits of health, right? Habits of health. 85% of people who go on a diet without behavioral support, because you need that behavioral support. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. The behavior is a part of that habit loop. It forms that habit where you become automatic. You reach for it automatic. You do things automatic. You're not even thinking about it, right? And so 85% of people who go on diet without that support to help them with that new behavior, they say it takes 21 days, and it really does. And sometimes it takes a little longer, but you need support. They usually gain the weight back within 6 months to a year. That is research. That is research. So 85% is a big number, I think. So, framework of habit. Framework of habit. Hopefully, you guys are there. You guys can comment, engage. If you have questions, please let me know. Now, the brain spends a lot of effort at the beginning of a habit, right? It spends a lot of effort looking for something, and that something is called a cue. Remember that, a cue. CUE, a cue that offers a hint as to which pattern to use. The process within our brain is a 3-loop process. And the 3-loop process is called a cue, a routine, and a reward. We're talking about a framework of a habit. Framework of a habit. So the framework of a habit consists of a loop that is designed with three elements. And the three elements are cue, routine, and reward. Cue, routine, and reward. Okay. So cue, CUE, that equals a trigger. I want you guys to remember that. It's a trigger that tells our brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. It's like a recorder, a remember recorder. Oh, let's go into that habit. Oh, she eats chocolate every time this time of the month. Or he goes for a cookie every time after he eats because he got to have something sweet. Y'all know how it is. Y'all know how it is. So a cue, trigger that tells our brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. So then the next element of our loop is called a routine. And the routine is really created by a behavior or patterns of behavior or a pattern, which can be physical or mental or emotional. You know, those, some of us are emotional eaters, or we're, I found out that I was not a community eater, but a social eater. You know, when you go out and all the time, everything was around food versus, hey, let's hike somewhere, or let's meet up at a walk trail and walk, or let's meet up at a place where we can just have smoothies and walk and talk, you know, something that's healthy versus always going to look for food, right? So that's a routine, which consists of behavior and patterns, all right, which can be, I said, physical or mental or emotional. And I'm repeating myself because I want you, in case you want to take notes, in case you're getting it. Sometimes we got to hear it 2 or 3 times to really register what, you know, what people are saying. I know that's me. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I'll be like, excuse me. So the third one is reward, which is, excuse me, which is usually our result or our outcome, the fruit of it, which assists your brain into figuring out if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future. The reward. What is the reward? What is the outcome? What am I getting out of this? Our brain is so fascinating. I mean, oh my goodness. So over time, this loop, cue, routine, and reward, remember that this is the habit loop. Cue, routine, and reward. And I got my information from this amazing book. His name is Charles Dung. I did most of my research from him and a couple other people, and I actually utilized this for my own life. And I start analyzing myself, because if you can diagnose your habit, then you can change it with an intentional prescription. Did you catch that? If you can diagnose your own habit, then you can intentionally design a prescription specifically for you. But you got to be intentional. You got to be alert and aware. You've got to be assessing yourself. We're good at assessing others, and we're good at doing certain things, maybe in our business, in our everyday life, with our family, with our kids, seeing what works, what doesn't work, with our spouses. But you have to shine that light on you in order for you to be better for the weight that you're carrying. Because sometimes injury doesn't happen from the weight we carry, but it's how we carry the weight, right? I was working out, Jesus, today. And I had to be careful on how I carried the weight, because I don't want to injure myself, because I was injured a year and a half ago. And it was a real bad injury. So I have to be very careful on how I pick the weight up. I don't have to be afraid of the weight. And I just can't haphazardly pick up the weight, but I got to really intentionally pick up the weight in a way to where my body structure can handle it. And then I can reap the benefit out of the weight, which is the strengthening. It helps my bones. It does a lot of things for me, versus me hurting myself. So how you're carrying your weight in your businesses, in your entrepreneurship, in your career, how are you carrying your weight? And a lot of times our habits help us, handle those weights. So I'm encouraging you, I'm really challenging you to assess yourself so that you can design an intentional prescription for you. You can design that. So we talked about the habit loop, which is our cue, routine, and reward. Habits can be ignored, changed, or replaced. Let me repeat that. Habits can be ignored, changed, or replaced. The habit loop reveals a basic truth. When habit emerges, the brain stops fully participating in the decision making. And I'm going to tell you how it is. It stops working. It's too hard. It's like you got it. We're done. It diverts and is focused to other tasks. So unless we deliberately fight a habit, unless we find new routines, the pattern that will unfold automatically, our brain will just go on autopilot. So ask yourself or tell yourself, I'm gonna fight a habit. Yeah, I'll fight a habit. Absolutely. I will fight a habit. I'm in that process of fighting the habit. I don't eat a lot of sugar, but I need to be careful about breads and other stuff that has sugar in it. I don't eat any white sugar at all. I haven't eaten white sugar probably for about a year and a half. I don't really buy it. My husband does at times, but we don't buy it as much as we used to. We used to buy that 5-pound bag. When we buy sugar, we buy the smaller one. Sometime when he has to cook. But for me, I don't eat white sugar. I don't care for it. It does too much, and that's a whole nother live with us. And I'm gonna help you out with that. But I still had to align my body up to know that we're not doing that habit no more. So I can't reach for all the breads or certain things that are high in sugar. It's like some of my yogurts. I had to pull back from some of my yogurts because it was just so high in sugar. It has sugar, sucrose, and fructose. I'm like, my goodness, does it have to have all that in there? And so I had to restrain from that. So I had to fight the habit. I had to fight a habit because brain was just going on autopilot. Just take that piece. Just do that. Just do that because I've done it for so long, right? So simply understanding loop, the habit loop, gives way to understanding the framework of a habit. That's what we're talking about today. Framework of a habit. What are some of the habits that are not healthy for you? I want you to really kind of write it down. Kind of diagnose yourself. So the problem is that our brain can't tell the difference between bad and good habits. And so if you have a bad one, it's always lurking here. It's always lurking around, waiting for the right cue and the reward. What was the cue? A trigger. And we're going to get into some examples. And the reward is the outcome, how it makes you feel. And that feeling could be temporary, right? But it's a feeling that takes a place of whether it's emotional, physical, mental. That's what we talked about. So this explains why it's so hard to create exercise habits or change in how we eat, right? Once we develop a routine, and what did I say a routine was? What is a routine? Routines are behaviors and patterns. Routine of sitting on the couch rather than running or snacking whenever we pass a bag of chips. We just take the whole bag of chips and we just eat it, right? We're used to that. Or like I said earlier, you're so used to after you eat something, you have to have something sweet. Your body's craving it. It is just wanting it. It's really that candida down in your belly that comes from eating too much sugar that is saying, feed me, and you gonna feed it. So that habit has to be broken. So figure out some of the habits that you are doing that small. I'm not saying go big and go large. We want to be consistent and we want to be realistic. You understand? It doesn't make sense for you to be unrealistic, keep falling. I'm going to say falling because it's no failure, but falling and you become inconsistent and then you have lack of confidence. And that doesn't build your esteem up in what you're trying to shift. Because when you're changing and transitioning and transforming, you need your energy focused intentionally on what you're desiring. And it's not so much the outcome in the beginning, but really how I'm going to manufacture this process, because the process is really huge. If you're not consistent, it's hard to really map out a pattern and really follow through. You may be motivated in the beginning, and motivation is great. I always talk about it. I love motivation. Inspiration is amazing, but motivation and willpower is limited. It's temporary and is limited, because motivation is predicated on how you feel or how others make you feel. But if you can develop discipline, that discipline kicks in, and no matter how you feel, no matter what comes your way, you're going to do it. And I experienced that this week. I had a hard week at work and school, that impact business. Y'all know. I'm talking to my brothers and my sisters. Y'all know. Family, you know what I'm saying? You got stuff going on. And I don't want to go and work out after work. I'm tired. I done dealt with, make decisions, doing this, doing that, collaborating, communicating, and then you come home, I'm sitting at the laptop doing homework for hours and just back and forth. So I was like, Lord, I don't want to go work out. But you know what? I have been pressing. It had nothing to do with how I felt. And that's what I made up my mind. When I go back and forth like that, I'm just going to do what I designed for myself to do. My design is to work out 3 days a week. And guess what? I'm going to work out 3 days a week. I'm not even looking at the weight that I want to lose or the feeling I want to feel. I'm trying to map out my process, right? I'm trying to get my routine in place. Because once my routine is in place and I'm aligned up and I'm working that process, right? I'm working it. And one day or some days or something come up and I got to switch around. I'm like, no, I can't have a meeting at 4:00. I work out. I leave the building at 4 to be at workout by 4:30. All right. That's what I have. I can't do. I can do a meeting at 3. I give you an hour, but on certain days of the week, we can't have a meeting because my mental status, my emotional standpoint, right? Come on, my physical agility. I gotta be ready. We are shifting and we are shaking, and we've got to have this body. I call it. I was telling my community that it's the suit to the soul. Your skin, your body, it's the suit to the soul. So you have to have it in order, right? You have to have it in order. And order does not mean disease-free. I want to get that straight too. You can be at your top with your disease. You can have diabetes diagnosed, hypertension diagnosed, heart disease, and you can be working your plan. You work it. You build those habits of health for your framework of living. And what is my framework, Coach Lashon? It's my wellness. Everything sits up on my wellness. It goes back to that, right? Yes, it goes back to that. Okay. So our routine. Okay. So you built years that you come home, you sit on the couch or in your bed and you watch TV. That's a habit. You created a habit loop. And now you're trying to break that habit loop. We must learn to create new neurological routines that overpower those behaviors. Once we take control of the habit loop, we can force those bad tendencies into the background. Once you create a new pattern, studies have demonstrated going for a run or eating to fuel your body with clean, good food becomes as automatic as any other habit. You can do it. We can do it. Yeah. Write in your journal or your book, we gonna do it. Right? Right. So without a habit loop, get this. This blew me away. When I read this, I think it was about a year and a half ago. It says without habit loops, our brains would shut down, overwhelmed by the details of daily life. Countless studies have shown that a cue and a reward on their own aren't enough, right, for a new habit to last. But let's go back to that brain and creating neurological pieces. They're finding out that the brain is amazing. it can create so many different pathways outside of what has been given all its life. You can create that. Will it take work? Absolutely. Will you have to fight an unhealthy habit? Yes, you will. Will you need a level of discipline? Yes. Do you need support in your behavioral change? Absolutely. Yes. I'm not saying for you to do this all by yourself. You need a community, you need collaboration, you need accountability. You hear me? And you need a design specifically for you, because it's not a one size fit all. It's the size that fits you and only you. It goes back to that. You diagnosing yourself, bringing it to the table. And this is what I do: intentionally writing a prescription specifically for you. You can take that and you can work that, whether it's with your fit coach, even if it's just for you. I'm gonna be consistent for the next 7 days. I'm gonna do walking for 20 minutes. Simple, even 15 minutes around my block. Simple. Go low, slow, and steady. Because habit is over and over and over and over again. And I say this all the time. It's boring. People get bored. And so what? We break our habit or we break it. It's okay to shift it up a little bit, but stay steady and consistent to your pattern, to your routine, because you want that lifestyle outcome. You want that to be a living pattern, not a once a month or 3 weeks and you stop. You want to be consistent, right? So let me make sure I'm on the right thing. Yes, I am. I love that piece though. Without the habit loop, the brain would just shut down. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? I didn't know that 2 years ago when I first read it. My allergies are bad too, you guys. So bear with me. Only when our brain starts expecting the reward, the craving, the endorphins, or a sense of accomplishment will it become automatic. So you have your cue, your reward, and your routine. I want you to write down, those that are listening, figure it out. What is your cue? And I'm gonna give you an example. I ain't gonna leave you hanging. I'm not gonna leave you hanging. So a cue, somebody's cue, a cookie. That's a cue. Now I know that's yours, but it's somebody's. So a cue. And I read this, which was amazing. I mean, it was how he dissected himself and diagnosed himself was really, really amazing. And I took that pattern and I started dissecting and diagnosing myself. And it shifted some things. It made me more aware of some things. And then I became more deliberate and intentional. And I had to create a plan, and I had to have a word of prayer. I had to write some things down, and I had to be accountable to my coaches because I want results. So listen. So a cue is a trigger. Remember that. Remember, a cue is a trigger. I got to put my little glasses on. It's the stimulus that prompts you to take action, right? And then we have our routine, which is our pattern, our behavior. And I'm repeating this because it's not about me talking fast and giving you a lot of information. I really want this to impact you, and I want you to really understand what this concept is, because this is the basis of your wellness. This is the understanding of, I need to replace this unhealthy habit with this healthy habit. If you drink so many sodas, if you're drinking 5 sodas a day, I need to cut down to 3 sodas a day. That's cool. That ain't perfection, but it's progression, right? And it's going to cause you to shift and change. You're decreasing your sugar intake, right? And you're not putting all that yucky stuff 5 times a day in your body. You're doing it 3 times a day, but still it ain't 5 times a day. You are progressing, sis, bruh. You're progressing. And that is one of your goals, is to progress. And then you shot down to 2 days, 2 drinks a day. And before you know it, I don't even need a drink. Maybe once at dinner. That's it. You have went from 5 sodas a day to 1 soda a day. That is huge. That is huge. That is huge. So the Q, a cookie. So this young man, he worked, he was an accountant. Excuse me. He was an accountant, and he worked in this big building, and he would go up to his cafeteria. And so he would always go up to the cafeteria, get a cookie midday. He sees some of his coworkers and chit chat and talk and everything like that. And so, he started becoming conscious of that. Like, man, why am I going up there? And then he started diagnosing himself. Like, why am I every day this time I'm going upstairs to the cafeteria to get a cookie? And so as he started diagnosing himself, he started breaking down his routine. We're talking about a habit. He did this for months, right? And so he went up there, and so he started noticing the time of day. So he said at 3:00, usually 3-ish, he would always go, leave his desk, get a little antsy, leave his desk, go to the cafeteria and get a cookie. Go back and forth, conversation, talking, communicating with his coworkers. He enjoyed that, and go back to his desk, and he was fine. And he would leave 5, 6 o'clock to go home. But he noticed that. So he's like, what is that? So he was like, okay, so 3:00 will come. He looks at the clock. So he wanted to make a shift. He's like, okay, so instead of going up to the cafeteria, bear with me, because hopefully you can identify yourself. I identified myself when I first read it. So he walked around his work building instead of going up to the cafeteria. And then he was like, he did that for about 3 or 4 days. And he was like, this is not work. It's like, it's still not working. So on the 5th day, he finds himself back up in the cafeteria. So he's following his cue, which is the cookie. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. The routine is going up to the cafeteria, and the reward was feeling good. It tastes good. It feels good. But he was like, what is that? So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to shift. I'm going to shift some things around. So when 3 or 3:30 came around again, he's like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and figure it out at his desk, because he was in his cubicle. And so he got up, he moved around, he started talking with his coworkers in his unit, on his floor. And they was talking and, enjoying it. So he went back to his desk and he felt fine. He did that for about 4 or 5 days instead of going up to the cafeteria. And then he noticed. So 3:30, he got up again and he chit-chatted with his friend. And what he figured out, it wasn't even about the cookie. It was about the connection of the people. But you gotta stop and diagnose yourself so you can prescribe an intentional prescription for you. And that's what he did. So about 3:30 every day, because he was an accountant, and he would be by himself doing numbers and whatever. So he craved not the cookie, but the communication of people, right? So he associated that. So he cut the cookie out, and he just started talking to people on his floor. And that gave him that accomplishment, those endorphins, that goes when you're encountering, you're talking, you're connecting, you're communicating, you're doing what you're doing with people. And so he said over the months that he didn't go up and eat that cookie, he lost like 25 pounds. He lost weight. And it wasn't even about the cookie. And a lot of us are doing habits like that. Come on now. Y'all know I'm right. Come on. Because that was for me too. You ain't by yourself. We in this together. Don't you forget that. He was like, it wasn't even about the cookie. I was creating this habit loop around a cue that wasn't serving me. Come on. What's not serving you in this season? You better tell, bye. I don't got time for that. Figure it out, because you're worth it. You understand? You are worth it. So he was like, okay, I'm done with that. So he was done with it, and he analyzed it. He prescribed himself intentionally, and he was able to walk away 4 to 5 months later, 30 pounds down. And he said, what cookie? Yes. All right. I'm going to give you another one. Excuse me. I'm going to give you another one, because I want you guys, I've given you the information, and now I'm giving you some kind of like scenarios, real life scenarios that really affect people. People really went through this. And I myself, I'm going through that myself in another level of discipline, of disciplining myself to definitely have the work-life balance, but also disciplining myself to have school focus, and making sure that I have healthy snacks at my laptop. I'm at my laptop for hours, and you guys probably are at your laptops as well, or you at your designing board, or you at your journal, you somewhere writing, creating, and building and developing structures, strategies for your community, for your family. And so it's easy to reach for something unhealthy. I learned I like crunch. I like a crunch. I found out, I was like, I'm eating a little too many Doritos. So once I found out I like a crunch, I was like, okay, I need to shift what I reach for, but I still want that crunch. So what did I go for? I went for a raw almond. And every now and then I chump up some dark chocolate, get dark chocolate in there, put a little cranberries if I need it, craisins, whatever you call them. But the almonds is fine. And I chomp on them, and before I know it, and I make sure I take my portions out. I don't just eat the whole bag, because before I know it, I will eat the whole bag because I like that crunch. It gives me something to do while I'm sitting here researching, reading. What do you need to replace? Because a habit can be replaced. But if you don't be intentional, deliberate, it won't be replaced. Okay? We clear on that? All right, we're clear on that. Awesome. So another one, let's do another one real quick. So habit to break, going into the pantry at night and snacking mindlessly. This was this young lady. Snacking mindlessly into the pantry. She would go at nighttime, evening time, as she's preparing to go to bed and get up for the morning. She would go into the pantry and snack just aimlessly. Now we're talking about our habit loop. Somebody say habit loop. Habit loop. Write it. Let me see it. Write it. Habit loop. What is our habit loop? Our cue, our trigger. That's our cue. Get your brain cells. Our routine, which covers our pattern, our behavior, and then the reward, the accomplishment. What do I get from it? Right? Those are our elements for our habit loop. Remember that. So we're doing scenarios now because I want you guys to really kind of understand this. I hope this is good for you. I hope somebody's getting something from this. I know I got something from this, and everybody I share it with, they get something from it. They get something a little different, but nonetheless, you get something from it. And that's the goal. We want to get something from it so that we can be better. We want to be better. We want to live an optimal lifestyle. And that is the goal. That's one of the reasons why I do appreciate BSBA for opportunity to pour, to really create an environment where we can have wellness at the forefront and move forward in our wellness and not be ashamed of it. Not be intimidated by it, and not understand it. We're gonna get it. So anyway, this is the next scenario. So she's going into the pantry at night and snacking mindlessly. Does that remind you of somebody? I hope it ain't you, but if it is you, it's all right. Weird. It's all right. So the cue, which is the cue, can be, it is the trigger. So the cue. So evening time come. It's always around the time. So that's why when you diagnose yourself, you got to look at the time, what's going on mentally and intentionally, internally. You got to look at all that. That's how you get a true diagnosis. You're looking at the signs and the symptoms. Come on now, of your habit, right? So this young lady, evening time and hunger, stressed about the next day. So she's stressed about the next day, going to work the next day. So her behavior, which is the routine, what is your routine? She goes into the pantry and she snacks to fill her emotional hunger. So she snacks until she's full emotionally. She's feeding her emotional hunger. So her result, which is her reward, now somebody can identify with this, feel temporarily satisfied physically, although The emotional pain persists. The physical satiation, I know I was going to mess that word up, distracts her from the emotional discomfort. So it's temporary. It's temporary. So I'm going to repeat that. Her cue is evening time, hunger. She's thinking about work the next day. She's stressing out. And it could be a relationship with y'all. It could be a business deal. It could be work. It could be family. So her routine, she goes into the pantry every time at night and she eats to satisfy her emotionally. She just eats and eats. She snacks. And so the reward, the outcome is temporary. That's what I need you to get when you're dealing with this model, which is an unhealthy habit. So she feels temporarily satisfied physically because she's eating her emotions, but she still has emotional discomfort. She still has emotional issues. She's still got to face tomorrow. But she feels that up with food. And so some of the things of exiting out of this old loop, now she's in her loop, her cue, routine, reward. Somebody say with me, cue, routine, reward. And the cue is CUE, cue, routine, reward. Your cue represents a trigger. What triggers you? What time of night is it? I'm at work. This is mine. This is mine. And I'm going to come back to her. This is mine. Stress happened on the job. Something happened. We have an emergency. You know, I remember this very vividly. I think this was a year and a half ago. It was a year and a half ago. It could be 2 years. It could be two. I think it's 2 years now. So we had a baby who passed away on our unit. I'm a labor and delivery nurse by trade, and so we had a baby who passed away on the unit, and we were just stressed. Our unit was just we was just emotionally drained. We had worked hard, and I worked days, so this went into the next night shift, the evening shift. And so we were exhausted. I went into my office. We cried a little bit. So I went into my office and I have a bowl of candy. I tell the story often. I have a bowl of chocolate candy sits on my table, on one of my tables in my office for my nurses. They come by, the doctors come by, they eat it. And so I would just eat my chocolate when I would get stressed or I would get like just frustrated, a little kissy or a little Hershey, because I love me a chocolate down. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Yeah, one may not, but after a while, when you look around and you didn't eat 6, sis, I was like, okay, I gotta change it. So this particular night, I was on my habit loop. I was changing the way I process or reach for my routine. I was shifting my pattern. The cue was the same. It was the stress. I felt it was the stress. But me, I had diagnosed. And so now I had a new pattern, a new routine. I needed to work my new routine into my life. Boy, that was rough. That was a tough one. So you know what? I said, instead of me struggling back and forth with this little candy dish here, I think I'm going to put a period on my night, boom, and go home. And that's what I did. I said, hey, it's nothing else I can do. I went home. So my pattern, my reward was going home to my safe place, had a hot shower. That was my reward. It was like it sent off endorphins of relaxation. My hormones was just popping off. I was able to, adrenaline was to come down, and the serotonin came on in, melatonin, all that stuff just started working. And so I was able to really have a restful night, right? So I shifted that. And so even now, people be like, you can just sit in here, you don't eat this chocolate. I've shifted. My habit loop has changed. If anything, I'll drink me some water, put a little fizzy in my water, and go on about my business. So I have replaced some things that I found out that was unhealthy, was no longer serving me in this season of my life. Especially if I want to promote wellness, there's another level of lifestyle I got to live. Come on now. There's another lifestyle that you got, level of lifestyle you got to live. Uh, Entrepreneur, business owner, business builder, mother, father, shifting the trajectory of your family, your generation. Yeah, you got to do it. Is it easy? No. That's why it takes community. It takes a community and a collaboration and accountability to get it together, to work it through. And you're not going to have perfection, but look for progression. Look for yourself progressing in your decisions, in your mindset. Start assessing yourself. All right. So this young lady, we're gonna go back to the cookie. We're gonna end it with this. So we coming back to the, not the cookie, but the pantry. The pantry. So how to change and prevent triggers. So this young lady, eat more throughout the day. That was one of the things they suggested to her. Complete the stress cycle throughout the day by getting some movement via exercise, a walk, or light stretching. If she knows she's got to come back to the shop every day, let me put me some plans in place so I can handle my own anxiety and level my stress out so I can be productive in what I've been called to do. Let me figure out, that's your responsibility. Yeah, you, it's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. That's your responsibility. It is. It is. Turn to healthier emotional coping mechanism, such as art therapy is huge. Mindful movement. I mean, there's some times I come in my office and I don't do nothing. So in the morning when I get up, I come into my office and I don't do nothing for a few minutes. I sit. I don't even read. There's some things I do read and write, but just for 5 or 10 minutes, I do nothing. I really like feel Lashon. Where is Lashon? I'm mindful of me. How am I feeling? What am I going to do today? What do I look like in my day? I'm telling you, it helps. It helps you. It helps you align you up. It really does. So mindful movement, even just slowing down, meditation. I do that as far as meditating on the word of God. You can have mantras, different things. I have that all up in my office because it helps me mentally. It just helps me just to keep my mind going on positive things, godly things, to chip away at some things that are huge for me. In my eyesight, it's some things that are big. But if I use my power and my motivation and my discipline to nip at some things, before I know it, that big boulder is now a rock, then a pebble. Then before I know it, it's just a little piece of dust. Same for you. Work that out. Don't get overwhelmed by the big boulder. And if you are overwhelmed, acknowledge that. And then, you know what? I need to deal with this. How does it look with me dealing with it? Diagnose so you can get an intentional prescription for you, right? We're still talking about habits. So journaling, I love journaling. Anybody who knows me, journaling is life-saving for me. It is life-saving for me to the point to where I authored a journal. So I love journaling. Social time with friends and loved ones. These are some of the things. Now things are opening up. You can connect with your family, with your friends. You can do some outdoor stuff. We can really get that fresh air in, get that oxygenation in so that it can, we can feel good and move forward. Here, move forward. So these are some of the shiftings for this young lady who likes to eat every evening, thinking about the stress at work. So these are some of the alternatives. Did you see I do that? I gave you a loop, an unhealthy loop. And some of the things are still the same. Like your cue is still probably the same. You still may feel that anxiety at certain times of your life or of the day. But then what is your routine? How are you going to manage through this, right? Measure where you at, how I'm going to manage through this so that I can have an effective outcome, which is my reward. And that reward can be accomplishment. It can be just feeling good about yourself, feeling good about helping others, that is a reward. Pouring into people, being a blessing, giving, and also receiving in this season. Sometimes it's hard for us to receive. So that can also be a reward, right? Yes, yes, yes. We're talking about framework of a habit. I hope that this was a blessing for you. I hope that this will allow you to align some of your own internal lifestyles up. Um, so that you can show up the best that you can. And that's one of the goals. We don't want to show up broken and fragmented and depleted. It's over for those. It's over for that time because the body holds the history. I remember last week, I think it was last week, I was like, I had a full week last week. I was like, these weeks are full. I had no, y'all know how it is. And I was like, you know what? I need a Friday off. I called my director. I need a PTO on Friday. And I wasn't burnt out or broke down. I just was feeling like, okay, I'm gonna need some time. And my body was like, girl, you need some time. Because guess what? The body holds the history. So I took that time off and I was really just being obedient. And so when I got home, Friday was a rest day. Do you know, I don't sleep till 11 o'clock in the day. I'm usually up. Monday through Friday, I'm usually up by 5:30 or 6. During the weekend, I may sleep into 9. You know what I'm saying? But 11 o'clock, I slept through. So my body was exhausted. And so those are some of the signs and signals that you've got to put in your arsenal so you can take care of yourself. And that becomes a habit. You become habitually tuned in to you. I'm feeling a little off today. So I don't think I'm gonna go there. So if you habitually in tune to you, you're self-diagnosing yourself. Something. You know what? I don't have the energy I used to. I need to evaluate what I've been putting in my mouth, or what I've been putting in my ears. Come on now, what I've been reaching for. So you start diagnosing yourself, and then your reach will shift, or your reach will stutter. You'd be like, you'll fumble that. Come on now. Because then you're looking for a way to replace what's unhealthy for what is healthy, right? Right. So teaching you to understand the patterns in your life will change habits and transform your lifestyle. It definitely will. I'm a witness. There's people who have lived through it. They're yet living through it. We all are yet living through it. That's why we need each other to support us in our behavioral changes so that we can be the best that we can be. And we want to serve correct. You understand? So why not have those elements in our lives that no longer serves us? Let's cut them off. Let's change it. Let's shift it. You got the power. Come on, we community. We got it. We're going to do it. So this has been framework of habit. We have our three elements. Can anybody tell me 3 elements? One is cue, right? Figure out your cue. What's your trigger, right? Routine, your pattern, your behavior. It could be mental, physically, or emotionally. And then what you getting out of it? Because you're getting something out of it. Because your brain know you are. What's your reward? What's your reward? And so I hope this was beneficial for you guys on tonight. I appreciate the opportunity, the space, and the time. Definitely pour into yourself. And as you pour into yourself, you will overflow out. You will not be giving from an empty cup or a half-filled cup. You will be giving from an overflow where you remain full. And these are some of the elements and the behaviors that you need to consistently give from an overflow. I'm not telling you not to give, but you don't need to give to deplete yourself. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Business woman, businessman, mother, father, grandparent. You don't need to do that. So anyway, I always enjoy my time with y'all. Thank you so much, BSBA. Remember the framework of a habit. write down, document your own stuff, diagnose you so you can have an intentional prescription for you. You understand? All right. You all have an amazing, amazing night. I wanted to share with you guys, we do have a workshop coming up, E3 Fit and Wellness, in the month of July 10th. We have a gut health master workshop. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about pre and probiotics, the health and wellness of your gut, because 75 to 80% of our immunity is in our gut. It's in our gut. So we hope you guys can join us for that. But I thank you all. Thank you, the family of BSBA. You guys are amazing. I hope it was something said that will create your own plan for your own life to live at another level. You guys have an amazing evening, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.